So before we get to the strange alien looking flower with a very cozy name, I just want to say if it's your first time on my channel, this is where we learn how to make professional looking flowers out of sugar and cold porcelain. So please consider subscribing. And for those of you who are back to watch my channel, I am very, very, very flattered that you have chosen to spend your free time here. With this out of the way, let's get to this strange botanics. So most of the time I'm doing my demo for any flower or foliage in cold porcelain and sugar. In this case, for two reasons, I've decided to just do it in sugar, simply because in the last couple of videos I've done it in cold porcelain, but also because against my expectations, the main part of this flower, the shoe itself, actually worked out to be easier to make in sugar. Sugar paste just tends to be more solid and it kind of holds the shape better, which in most cases makes it less responsive to veininess and all of those things. But in this case, it worked nicer. And so because I tried to keep this video shorter than I usually do, due to not having much time to do it, I kind of just gonna speak it through instead of showing it in cold porcelain. Now, I've prepared this first part. Now this is the cardboard cutout that I've just copied from a cutter I've googled, and that seemed pretty. I've gone through a few cutouts until I found the one I liked. So now I've decided it's probably first and the last time I'm making this flower, although I hope I'll get another opportunity to make it and improve on it. But anyway, I'm not going to be making it every day, so that kind of seemed to make sense. And this is as easy, that's the easiest way to keep it nice and smooth that I found. Don't roll it too thin, because I think even orchids turn to be a little bit chunkier anyway. Those of you who follow me on Instagram would know that I go to Weasley Gardens a lot, but actually I've not had a chance to go and have a look at this particular, very rare apparently, flower for real. And the problem with googling pictures is that you see the most flattering frontal pictures of them and don't see many details, so I kind of had to improvise. So for those of you who know about this flower, and I'm sorry if it's not terribly botanically correct, the cardboard I'm using for this cutout is actually a pack from corn flour. Stops me wasting it, and also it's nice and smooth on one side, so stops it from sticking quite as much. As you could see, I sometimes still dust it, but yeah, that's just my favorite thing to make cutouts with. So you keep this petal quite chunky, as is the nature of the flower, and watch this carefully. So initially this cutout is just a bit too big, so what I do, I've not videoed it, edited it out, but what I do, I make a cutout, and then because I see a line when it's too big, I just cut the excess off, and that's all there is, and then I revein it again, and it's perfectly how it should be. Now this tip with foil I've picked up from Robert Hines' tutorial, and that man is a legend. I completely recommend for anyone who likes complicated and elaborate flowers to watch all his tutorials. So now this veining bit, do make spares, because it's quite a tricky step, and don't be afraid to experiment. I think the rule is to go across, but for me here I tried different ways, and it worked for me to just go and follow the shape of the veins themselves. And here I use paint, and I'm not very good at painting, as you can see it looks really pretty rubbish. So what I've taken a little knife, and I'm just working my way around trying to kind of correct it and edit it a little bit. And here my colors don't match very well, so what I'm going to have to do is to add a little bit of yellowish here, so that it kind of has some kind of a continuity. I just couldn't find the right color dust really to make that paint with. And this little thing is my middle. I couldn't see the middle very well on any of the pictures that I've seen, so I kind of took a bit of artistic license to it. I have no idea if it actually works the way it is. Now with this next step, dusting these little side petals, I couldn't paint them because the veiner was brilliant for the central bit, but for this little bit it just hardly veined for whatever reason, so it was very hard to paint over it, so I kept it simpler. Now, slightly off subject, for those of you who are already my subscribers but don't get notifications of my video every time it comes out but want to, please make sure you press that little bell just there so that you get those notifications every time. I actually watched YouTube instead of telly. I love it that much, and I've only just learned about it, so I just thought I'd share. Okay, so next to this, we now have all the parts of the flower, and we're going to assemble it. Now, looking at this flower, this part of it actually does look so much like a slipper, because initially I just thought it was a British sense of humour to call a very pompous looking flower with a very, very domesticated name, but no such thing. It does look like Lady's slipper. So if you find that assembling this little flower is actually a lot trickier than you expected, and trickier than orchids normally are, don't be alarmed or surprised, and certainly don't blame yourself. I found it really tricky to assemble it, and the main thing here is not to break the precious slipper, because it's not the kind of thing you'd be very eager to make a spare of, and so now it's all dry, as are all the parts. It would be an absolute disaster to break it. So although it's very sturdy and it makes your job of not breaking it reasonably easy, pay a special attention to it. And if I had one more tip, it would be to cover the stem with your flower tape before you actually bend the slipper down and into the position, because that's what I did and I felt a bit stupid. So now the flower is finished. Couple of words of what I liked about my work on it and what I didn't. I did like the shoe, or on the whole I did not like my painting, but something which would have been easier to change was the shape of the big top petal, because it just needs more movement. It didn't look like it did on the main picture, but it does need more movement. Other than that, I am so incredibly pleased I've had to go at making this flower, because the satisfaction and the kind of amazing feeling when you just figure it all out and finish it, it really is so cool. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope to see you back, and have a lovely weekend. I'm off on holiday, so I probably won't be able to come up with the next video on time for Thursday, but I have an interesting video for you to watch, or perhaps on Friday or maybe Saturday, with a little bit of a delay, hopefully. So have a lovely end of the week. It's Christina Wallace, and see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe, by the way.